Hello class and welcome to genetics. My name is Mr. Powder and I will be your instructor this semester. Before we get going, I would like you to tell me what you know or what you think you know about the world of genetics, and I will take that information and explain why what you might think you know is really misconceptions and untruths. Who would like to go first?
I heard it is possible to make an exact clone of someone by using their genetic makeup.
Yeah, like in South Park where Dr. Misfesto made his little clone.
That is not quite true. So far it is not possible to make an exact clone of anyone or anything.
Mr. Powder, what about Dolly the sheep? Wasn't she an exact clone?
Not really, young man. Dolly was actually made via the process of somatic cell nuclear transfer, where the cell nucleus from an adult shell is transferred into an unfertilized oocyte, which is a developing egg cell that has had its nucleus removed. The hybrid cell is then stimulated to divide by an electric shock. When the cell develops into a blastocyst, it is implanted into the surrogate mother. In truth, there is actually 3 sets of DNA that go into making up Dolly. So while she might technically be a cloned animal, she is not an exact clone of any one of the 3 sheep used in this process.
So why then do people say it is possible to make an exact clone of a human or animal?
Because most people come to the conclusion through their lack of knowledge of the exact aspects of genetics and what can be done through its use.
Yes, sir, but haven't genetic scientists genetically engineered human body parts? Would that not mean we could create a genetically engineered human?
You are correct, young man. Scientists have created human body parts and organs through the use of genetics, but to say that through this process they could create a whole human is wrong. It is in fact impossible. Nobody can create a human just through the use of genetic science, but pieces. Yes, that is something that is being done today. What class? Have any of you heard of scientists creating in terms of body parts or organs?
Wasn't there some mouse with a human nose on it?
No, it wasn't a nose. It was a and I forgot what it was.
You two are close. It was a mouse with a human ear that was grown in the mouse's back, not a nose. The name of that mouse is vacant ear mouse. Class, do any of you know if the ear would have been functional or how the process of growing the ear was done?
If the ear grew, it would have had to be functional.
Oh yeah, I saw a picture of it. That thing was creepy.
I think they must have injected human DNA into the mouse that made the ear grow.
That would prove that you could grow a human, right? It has to at least prove that through science you could genetically combine a human and a mouse.
Oh ick.
Yes, if they could grow this ear, they would be able to grow a full human. You have to be fooling with us, Mr. Powder.
Ah, students, you have so much to learn. While yes, there was an ear-like structure grown onto this mouse, I can assure you it was not a functioning ear. It was just the ear cartilage. Let me tell you how this was done so you will all know that it was not nor could it ever be a functioning ear. Dr. Charles Vacanty of the University of Massachusetts grew the human ear on the back of a mouse with the assistance of Dr. Linda Griffith-Simmer from MIT. The study was done as a way to suggest to plastic surgeons who were interested in developing techniques for attaching ears in children who had external ear deformities or had lost ears in accidents. It was designed to serve as a model for tissue engineering. The mouse had a defective immune system. The mouse was unable to reject the human tissue. The scientist created an ear-like scaffold of porous, biodegradable polyester fabric and then distributed human cartilage cells throughout its form. It was then implanted onto the back of a nude mouse. The ear was nourished by the mouse as the cartilage cells grew to replace the fiber. The mouse stayed alive and healthy through the process. Though the cartilage grew in the shape of the ear, it was not a functional ear because it lacked connection to the nervous system and the internamen ear structure.
So nothing made by a scientist in a lab in terms of body parts would ever be functional?
Why make something like an ear just to grow it on a mouse?
Yes, isn't this all just a waste of time if nothing would actually work?
No, class, like I thought you are misinformed. Genetic development throughout this field have made some fantastic advancements. A laboratory in North Carolina made a human bladder in 1996. Since then, scientists have built more and more increasingly more complex organs. Students, do you know there have actually been 5 human windpipe replacements so far? Alex Cephalian, a London researcher, has transplanted lab-grown tear ducts and arteries into his patients. Mr. Cephalian has also made an artificial nose for transplantation onto a patient who lost their nose because of skin cancer. So in fact there have been quite a number of functional body parts and organs that have been created in labs that have worked.
Mr. Powder, these lab-created parts could not be as strong or as good as the original body parts, could they? Science does not have the knowledge to make anything as good or better than nature could, right?
Oh no. In fact, most of what has been created through genetic research is found out to be better than the original body part.
So then we were right in what we heard before we came into this class, and that a human could be made through the use of genetics. I knew it.
Once again, young man, the answer to that is a big fat no. Right now and hopefully in the future we will never be able to make a human through the use of genetics. Remember, those of us in this field are scientists and not God.
Mr. Powder, I have heard about the Human Genome Project. Isn't that the project where the human DNA is mapped and sequenced?
You are correct, young man. Through the findings of the Human Genome Project, we are now able to know that there are approximately 20,500 genes in human beings, the same range of the amount of genes in a mouse. Understanding how these genes express themselves will provide clues to how diseases are caused. We also know that the human genome has significantly more segmental duplications or nearly identical, repeated sections of DNA than other mammalian genomes. Through the findings of the Human Genome Project, we know more now about genetics, and not only can we work in tracing back the lineage and see that genetics may underlie the creation of new primate-specific genes. The Human Genome Project has also made analyzing DNA much easier through improved tools and techniques. This can help out in many fields, from medicine to forensics.
Hey, couldn't the work done by the Human Genome Project be used to prove Dr. Melba Ketchum's findings of Bigfoot DNA correct?
Yeah. I heard she has some Bigfoot DNA, but nobody believes her. Couldn't the Human Genome Project end the debate if Dr. Ketchum's findings are correct or not?
Oh come on, we all know Bigfoot is real.
Well, class, the truth is there is a better chance to prove that Santa Claus is real through genetics compared to what this so-called Dr. Ketchum says is her proof of Bigfoot. Students, do any of you know why that is the case?
Because Santa is real. He brought me a skateboard last Christmas, and one year I am going to get a picture of that fat man.
Shut up, Kermit. I saw your mom buying you that skateboard at Kmart.
If you are going to just make jokes, you can leave this class.
Sorry, sir.
He is always like that, Mr. Powder.
Well, at least I know now. You see, without a base of DNA to compare with what Dr. Ketchum has that she claims is a sample of Bigfoot DNA, there is no possible way to scientifically prove that it is actually true Bigfoot DNA or not. As of this moment, all of this Bigfoot DNA talk is nothing but a far-fetched fable. You see, if Santa was real, there would be some DNA evidence of his left behind somewhere that would be a base, and we could compare future samples of Santa DNA to that base and be able to scientifically prove facts from fiction. Something Drive Ketchum cannot do.
So then why has Dr. Ketchum founded the Sasquatch Genome Project?
The reason Dr. Ketchum founded that project was to make an attempt to show herself as correct, but without a base sample of DNA there is no way for her findings to ever be proven true.
Do you think, Mr. Powder, that there is a Bigfoot?
Well, there have been species that have inhabited the earth long before man that were much like what is thought of as Bigfoot that we do have proof of, such as Lucy, but as for do I believe what Dr. Ketchum has is actual Bigfoot DNA, and is there really a species of Bigfoot creatures out there? Unless she can prove it, I do not believe it. For all we know, what Dr. Ketchum has is nothing more than doll hair, and her story is nothing but a media-created fable. You all need to quit listening to Coast for your genetics facts.
So much of what we seem to know about genetics seems to be nothing more than a lie.
I would not say lies, more like misconceptions. Unless you really have a knowledge of genetics, you might believe anything you are told, and I can say without a doubt most of that will be nothing more than poppycock. You have a lot to learn, and you will learn it in this class. When we come back tomorrow, we will begin on our journey to learning all your little brains can handle about the world of genetics.